obviously quite limited on what we can do on a standing up stand. What we can do is we can just pull these bottles back a fraction, and if you can get a tray in front of you, I'll just quickly introduce what we have here on your very small airline tray. You will be served so that will be the direction in which you're looking at it. We're going to serve the first wine with onion Bhaji. This is, you could come back to this at any time if you want to. It's obviously just a mint, yogurty, raita type sauce. A vegetable samosa. Bottom left we have a chicken Rogan gosh. So we're looking at a medium strength in terms of the spices. And bottom right hand side we have a lamb Madras. So we're actually looking here at, you know, the hotter. It's in a short tasting like this, we can't get too much more complicated than that, but at least you've got milder, herby based. I'll talk a little bit about them as we taste them. And then we're working our way up to a hot curry style. Tiny portions. If you can't get anywhere near a tray, perhaps you could convince someone. We can give you some more spoons, and you could perhaps share with someone who's standing next to you rather than let them not have a look. Who's still short of one at the moment? Yeah? But I better have one, I think, because I want to talk about how it's going. So yeah, there are some spoons here. Yeah. Anybody who needs a spoon? Okay, so I'm obviously, first of all, just going to tell you that this region of South Germany is a region where we don't see very many of their wines in the UK, and the whole of our 3 days here has been consisted of telling people that these wines are dry, these wines are classic European Pinot Noir, dry Riesling. Now, I'm going to change that story totally now, because we're looking at something different this afternoon, and we're actually saying, look at the way sweetness can work with spicy food. So, the first wine that we're going to show you is going to be the least sweet of all the wines. It's a Württemberg grape variety called Kerner, which was bred, in fact, at the Weinsberger Institute. We're actually showing their wines here this afternoon, but it was bred there, and it is a crossing of Riesling with the local Württemberg grape Trollinger. It's an interesting grape, Kerner, and it was developed in the early part of the 20th century, so it's not been around for too long. And this is dry to off dry in style. So we're not suggesting this would work with a really full hot curry, but with a bit of spice and a bit of herbs. I spoke to the chef who's made these little nibbles for us this afternoon, and he said what he was doing here. I mean, everyone knows onion Bhaji, onion, coriander, and fenugreek leaves, and then they are obviously fried in a gram flour batter. So everyone knows onion Bhaji, not too spicy, but the elements we've got are onion, coriander, and fenugreek. And please don't just dive in and taste all of the wines with all the pieces of food. The plan is you start this corner with the onion Bhaji, you try it with the first wine, which you should now have in your glass. So do that in your own time. Thank you. Please share. Yes, we have got some extra spoons if you need to share with someone else.
Doesn't have a tray and needs a spoon. I think you don't right here. Anywhere else a spoon?
I have one.
Okay. So go.
This is a good grape variety. It has Riesling characteristics, but usually, and honestly, a little bit more weight, because Trollinger is a red grape originally. the crossing of Kerner is Riesling crossed, not blended, crossed, a new variety developed, crossed with Trollinger, and you get a little bit more weight. You will find it, there's a lovely English producer who makes Kerner on the Severn Valley, between Worcester and Stourport-on-Severn, called Astley, and their great speciality is Kerner. And they make some lovely, lovely wines. Good acidity, but good weight at the same time. Now, how's it going with the onion Bhaji? What do we think? Do we need a bit more sweetness there, do you think? Possibly. It's on the borderline of being a bit too dry, I think, for the onion Bhaji, because onion is sweet in its own right, of course. But it's certainly not a clash. I think it's working all right. Maybe a touch more sweetness. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at the vegetable samosa now. And again, these are the handwritten comments of the chef. Mixed veg. It's a vegetable samosa with herbs, aromatically. Yeah, they're all about aroma, really. Trying to get aroma as the main sort of element in this wine. We're going to try it with the native Württemberg grape, which is a red grape called Trollinger. And as you can see, they've managed to make a completely white wine from the black grape. So we've got a Blanc de Noir, Trollinger, and the sweetness level on this is 20 grams residual sugar. So 20 grams of residual sugar in this wine. And the suggestion is you try it with the vegetable samosa. Chapati's just there if you want to change the palate or dip, or just there to in between courses, really.
But he does have the second wine.
What I would say about Asian cuisine in general, but with Indian food as well, is the best way to eat this is with a group of friends. Lots of different dishes on the table. And in the same way as that, lots of different wines on the table as well. So instead of going in and trying to choose one wine that will go with one dish, you would have perhaps a white wine, a rosé, a red, all on the table, and all trying each of those wines with each of the different types of foods. And it's great fun, and it just increases the ambience of the evening. So that's my suggestion. How are we doing here? We've got a little bit more spice. Is that working together? Sorry. Probably about 9 or 10, something like that. Okay, we're sprinting through because it's quite a quick tasting, but it's really just to raise the whole idea of whether sweetness is something that works with spice, and I think it does, to be honest. We're going to try next the bottom left-hand corner of your tray, which is a Rogan gosh, and it's a chicken Rogan gosh, and we are going to serve it with the Trollinger again, but this time made as a rosé. And the sweetness levels here are considerably higher. We're looking at 59 grams residual sugar, but bear in mind I did a rosé tasting this morning. We had an iced wine which was 176 grams. may sound high, but sweetness, there is sweetness and there is sweetness. We're at medium hot in terms of Indian curries with this Rogan gosh, so that's where we are at the moment. I think on something like this, we're in relatively virgin territory about matching Indian food with wine. A lot of people would either say lassi. There again, you see, you've got the dry, salty lassi, or you've got sweetened lassi. This is the yogurt drink. Or they may go for beer. But I've worked considerably as a consultant doing wine lists for Indian restaurants. We're based in Leicester, which is obviously... Des, how many Indian restaurants in Leicester? 121 Indian restaurants in the one city of Leicester. I've worked a lot with wholesale suppliers in the Black Country and Birmingham, which of course again would have numerous hundreds of Indian restaurants. And the honest truth is, from the research that I've done, that the classic names like Chablis and Chateauneuf-du-Pape are a complete and utter waste of money with that type of food. And so these bottles, I don't know if you've noticed the labels very much. Could you hold one up for us? Yeah, the Rosé and the red. We think are, well, we've tailored them specifically. Do we have the red there as well? For Indian restaurants, for the style. I don't know if any of you are supplying restaurants, but this is, we think, you know, what they would actually find attractive with an upmarket Indian decor or medium class Indian decor. And they would basically be white, rosé and red. Like sorry. But we think they are the style of wines that would work with that amount of sweetness and that amount of spice. So I'm laying the idea in front of you. I'm suggesting that you go away and with friends, you actually try it out. Get some Indian takeaways, get some wines open on the table and try some of this yourself. You might find there's a bone dry wine that goes with certain dishes. This is just a short tasting of 4 wines to raise it as a possibility, and we think it does work. So I'm just going to try that now. This is the Rosé. Thank you. What you either do is you lie down and say, wine is defeated. Wine cannot stand the spice of Indian food. Or you say, actually, I'm going to try and find a wine which has got a particularly strong characteristic, residual sweetness and grape flavours that would actually match some of those the strong things that we're tasting on our palate. We've obviously got chilies here. Chili is hard work for wines, but I think the sweetness gives it a chance of competing. You might, until now, till these come on the market, have been tempted by asti in an Indian restaurant. I know sometimes people look at that and they think, oh, asti sweet manti, we couldn't possibly drink that, but actually you would have a chance of that working quite well with spicy food as well. We're finishing with the lamb Madras, so if you really are not a lover of spices, basically just leave it, you know. We've got not the most extreme hot, we didn't go for Vindaloo, but we've got a Madras, a lamb Madras, and we've got tasting with it another Württemberg grape. This is a dark, you can see, lovely, intense, dark purple colours. A grape variety called Dornfelder, bred in the research station at Weinsberger. It was a crossing of a Cabernet Sauvignon and my mind's gone completely blank on me. Tell me, Jan, what was the crossing? There was Dornfelder, was a crossing of Cabernet and no, hang on. Lemberger. Trollinger It's not. I'll tell you what it is. It's a crossing of two Lemberger crossings, which were bred in Weinsberg. So it's a second generation red grape. If you want to know them, I've got them written down. You'll never see them again in your life. But they were the middle generation that produced Dornfelder. Lemberger and Cabernet, I think, were the original. Anyone wants to know, I'll give you the information. But here you've got Dornfelder, 44 grams of residual sugar. But because it's a red wine, I think with the lamb, we might be better to look for a sweet red. This is a sweet red wine. We're suggesting it might work with the lamb Madras. I remember that. Which are, if you were back to Lemberger, but they were a middle house, yeah. Some lemon here in the cuisine as well. Tomato. How's it getting on?
Still there. It's still.
Yeah, I think. No, you can still taste that you're drinking wine. Would you agree?
Yeah.
This has not just become a liquid. And most red wine, in all honesty, if you had it with that dish, it would just be a mouthwash. And it would not give its characteristics at all. So, I'm not coming with a complete answer to the question, but I'm floating to you the idea that sweeter wines like this may be the wines to choose when you're having Indian food. Thank you very much for coming along.